И всем снова здорово. С вами вновь я, Пикачу. Сегодня мы будем проходить игру под названием The Stanley Parable. Свой управление.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
И мы начинаем играть.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Да, кстати, наш главный герой, он не прыгает вообще. Ну, вот, садится, но он не прыгает. Открывает
When
дверь,
Stanley
так
came to a
ноге.
set of two open, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Я не знаю, что вот тут вот, потому что я шел налево.
Yes, truly a room worth
Ну
admiring.
как раньше.
It had really been worth the detour after
До
all,
того, как
just to
начал
spend a few
снимать.
moments here in this immaculate but
Я
eager to
пошел
get back
налево.
to business. Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Так, тут у нас тоже вот
And so he
развилочка.
detoured
Нет,
through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door,
Тихо,
and got
тихо.
back on track.
тут у нас
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
все, дверь не открывается. Уж придется сюда идти.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm
Да
not
уж.
your enemy, really, I'm not.
Что
I
это такое
realize
за
that
склад? Где
investing
он
your
вообще
trust in someone
работает?
else can
Что
be
это?
difficult, but the fact is that the story has been
Похоже, что
about
он там
nothing but you
журналист.
all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting,
Что такое за
Stanley.
склад?
Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need...
Ну, же, давайте возьмем трубочку, посмотрим, кто нам звонит.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife? who'd want to commit their life to you.
Да, это
I'm trying to make a
так
point
шутит.
here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Вообще-то это не хоррор. Что тут вы? Доброе утро, работник.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Я не понимаю просто, что он говорит, потому что у меня по-английскому трояк с натягом. Вот. Кто понимает, там просто слушайте.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls, and down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions, and down another was a game with a baby, and he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
А можно это как-нибудь не нажимать?
But there is no answer.
Да.
How could there possibly be? In reality,
Офигенно
all he's doing is
рассказал жене,
pushing
что
the
ли,
same
нашли.
buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Чтобы пойти спать. Ну давайте, ладно.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way
что
that
это?
he'll
Это я
understand that
опять
every
тут.
second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time you'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried
чем дело. Он мне
All
говорил
of his
говорите.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
И это
Perhaps he
что,
had
мне
simply
опять
missed a
сезон?
memo.
Да их бесполезно выключать. Не буду.
When Stanley
Ну
came
чё,
to a
там
set
мы
of
были?
2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Там, да, там мы были. Ну, там еще одна есть развилка. Можно сюда пойти. Давайте сюда пойдем. Туда, куда я ходил.
Yet there was not a single person here
Кто
either.
хочет там, тот
Feeling a wave of
почитает.
disbelief, Stanley
Я не
decided to go
понимаю.
up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a
Ходил наверх,
staircase,
пошлите
Stanley
вниз.
walked upstairs to his
Потом
boss's
наверх
office.
пойдем, если что.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for
Да
no
ну.
reason at all. None of it made any logical sense.
Да
And as
ну
Stanley
нет.
pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet
Нет.
when he looked down? Why did doors
Да что
close
такое?
automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently
Нет.
float above the ground. Then he imagined himself
Что?
soaring through space on a magical
Что это
starfield.
было?
And it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he
Пожалуй,
remaining
тут
so
в уголку
lucid?
забьюсь.
And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley.
Короче,
After all,
понятно, мы тут мы тут не выберемся, так что нужно все сначала начинать. И это похоже, я не знаю
All
на
of his
что, то
co-workers
есть,
were gone.
если ты тут
What
один
could it
раз
mean?
ошибаешься,
Stanley decided to go to the
тебя
meeting room.
переносит в самое
Perhaps he had
начало
simply
игры,
missed
и
a
ты
memo.
начинаешь играть прям с самого начала.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Вот. Предысторию это я не знаю, но вот он
Yet there was
говорит,
not
и
a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a
короче, мы были
staircase,
уже внизу,
Stanley walked upstairs to
нельзя
his boss's
пройти.
office.
идем, значит, наверх к тут у босса офис.
Stepping into his manager's office,
Я уже знаю
Stanley
пароль,
was
потому
once
что он
again
уже говорил
stunned to
его.
discover
Вот сами
not an
послушайте.
indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
45, он сказал.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad,
Вон,
Stanley
кстати,
happened
вот
to
зачем
input
такой
the
большой
correct
офис?
code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened
Я не
passageway.
понимаю. Так, он продолжает вниз. Я доходил только до этого лифта, дальше я не доходил. Вот. Я уже сам хочу узнать. Купил игру вот где-то минут 20
Stanley
назад,
walked
где-то
straight
так.
ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Я не знаю, мне кажется, опять игра нас обманывает. Идти туда или идти сюда. Потому что игра второго шанса не дает. То есть ты тут не сможешь жить. Потом опять все проходить. Я не знаю. Еники, беники, ели вареники, еники, беники, съели вареники. Пошли сюда. Или вот тут может нас обмануть игра. Я не знаю. Я говорю, я
The
до
lights
сюда не
rose on an
доходил.
enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Раз, два. Вон третья вышка.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature
Вот.
revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building,
Вот он,
Stanley's
427.
co-workers. The lives of
Вот
so
он, прям
many
в середине
individuals reduced to
экрана.
images on a screen. And Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Никого нету. Вот он, босса. Тут босс. Вот. Вот, 427. Да. И ни одна не похожа на друг друга. Что это?
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under
Что это
someone's
за грех?
control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it.
У
His
меня был
own
выбор,
life
можно было
in
пойти
someone
еще и
else's
обратно.
control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the
Что,
world?
это очень трудно, что ли?
But here was the
Я не
proof,
понимаю, что
the heart
это.
of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy
И что
or
это?
sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place.
Уф,
And as the
ой.
cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Да не на эту. Да. Ну, почему она не выключается? Выключайся. Ну. Ай, ладно. Пойдемте куда-нибудь наверх тогда, что ли. Или нам говорят вон туда вот идти. Во всяком случае, я не знаю. Тут 4. И что это нам дает? 4. 4, 1, 2. Тут закрыто. 4, 1, 2. Может, какой-то это код или что, я не знаю. Также можно и вниз пойти, да? А можно отключить. 4, 1, 2, 5. Нет, 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 нет. Не-не-не-не-не. Так, я не знаю, что нажимать-то. 4, 1, 2, 5. Так, это нельзя нажать. Короче, ладно. Запомнить эти цифры. О, вон там еще одна. 3, 4, 1, 2. 5, 3. 4, 1, 2, 5, 3. Угу.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power,
Что?
he
Я
knew
не
it was his
знаю.
duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Не знаю, мне кажется, если я off нажму, то тогда тут все выключится и я опять проиграю. Давайте.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going.
Я же нажал.
What all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that?
3.
You'd like to know
Есть.
where your co-workers are. A moment of solace before you're obliterated. All right, I'm in a good mood.
Какая?
You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what
Какая?
happened to them.
3. Ну,
I
3,
erased
вот.
them. I turned off the machine
Вот
and
она,
set you
3.
free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell
Вот дверь
it, I
открыли.
simply let you sit there in your
Минута
office
осталась.
forever,
Нет,
pushing buttons
нет.
endlessly and
Что?
then dying alone. Other
Что?
times,
Нет,
I
да вы
let the office
шутите,
sink
нет.
into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I
Чё
let it
это?
burn
Что
to a
это?
crisp.
Что?
I have to say this though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you
10
try to make
секунду,
sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite
2.
rich. I almost hate to see it
Где?
go.
Вот 2.
But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go around will be even better. My goodness,
2,
only
вот.
34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know
Открывайте.
what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra
Я
time
не
on the
понимаю.
clock. Why not? These are precious
Я же
additional
нажал 2.
seconds.
2. Вот оно.
Time doesn't grow on trees.
Вот оно 2.
Oh dear me, what's the
Ну
matter,
же.
Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be
Минута.
doing right now? Or did you
1.
just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at
Как?
you. Running from button to
Почему?
button, screen to screen,
Вот,
clicking on
да.
every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me.
Ну вот оно,
How would you
два.
think that, Stanley? That this video game can be
Ну же.
beaten?
Вот.
One soul?
Два, я же нажал
Do you
два.
have any
Выключись.
idea what your purpose in this place is?
Минуты 4.
Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment.
Ты хер ли
But here's a
ржешь?
spoiler for you. That timer isn't a
Говори-
catalyst to
говори
keep the
мне лучше,
action
что
moving
делать.
along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made
Ну вот
humble.
один.
This is not a challenge.
Один я
It's a
нажал.
tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look
Goodbye.
at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30
20
seconds until a
секунд.
big boom
Нет,
and then nothing.
откройте.
No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And
Ну,
believe me,
хоть
I
откройте.
will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Нет. Опять. Да уж.
When Stanley came to a set of
Я не
two
знаю,
of them,
пойдемте
this
тогда
was
сюда,
not the
направо.
correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this
Да
room.
уж.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley
Похоже,
took
нас
the
там
first open
обманывали.
door on his left.
Но на эскейп я тоже, наверное, не пойду. Так там мы уже были. Ну пойдемте
And
сюда
so he
шли тогда.
detoured through the maintenance section,
Мне тут тоже
walked
дается
straight
выбор
ahead
либо
to the
сюда, либо
opposite
сюда.
door,
Ну,
and
я,
got back
наверное...
on track.
Наверное, скорее всего, я вниз спущусь. Вот так вот. Дай быстрее.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further
Мне
off
кажется, что
track.
мы тут уже
So
были.
now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
А тут-то что? А,
Oh, no.
Нет.
No, it's to the right, my mistake. No, not the
да
right.
ты че, шутишь, что
Why
ли?
would I have ever said it was to the right?
Идиот.
What was I thinking?
Открой.
It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left,
Ну
down,
где? Ну
left,
открой.
right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
О. Еще ниже спускаться. Да господи. И опять мы тут.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your
То
eyes.
есть,
Okay.
типа мы тут уже включили, да?
Who am I
Не,
kidding?
тогда нам сюда
It's all
не надо.
rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable.
Потому
How about,
что...
rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the
Там
beginning.
еще одна
And this
шлемышка
time,
будет.
suppose we don't wander so far off track, hmm? Okay. From the top.
Что... В чем дело-то? Почему опять? Ну, на этом, наверное, все, я так думаю. Вот. В следующий раз мы опять попробуем на этот уровень пройти, потому что я не понимаю, куда тут идти и что тут делать. Если бы он нормально объяснял, была бы русская игра, то было бы намного понятней. Вот. А так я не понимаю ничего. Ну, сейчас я тогда попробую этот смотреть. Тут еще и субтитры есть. Ну-ка.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait.
Стоп.
What?
Это что-то
No.
новое.
No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Ну, это, наверное, вот он, заделанный выход. Это, ну, самый такой нормальный. Не знаю, мне кажется, что если я вот пойду вот сюда, то там будет все закрыто. Так что вот оно видно, да? Вот. И тут тоже, они вроде бы все соединяются. Ну, по крайней мере, вот это вот, да, вот это вот видно, то, что они соединяются, то, что вон. А тут стол не видно. Я не знаю, давайте пойдем, что ли, сюда.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we just...
Ну, да, я говорю, то, что они все соединенные.
Well, I find it unlikely
Это
that we'll ever
лабиринт, я не
progress by
знаю, что
starting
тут.
over and over again. But it's got to be better than this.
Мы
Okay, let's give
выйдем
it a shot. Why
сначала,
not?
не пойдем. И вот, я не знаю, куда мы попали.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed
Я
a
не
memo.
знаю, что случилось. Конференц-зал. Вот, видите, да? Нету двери. Я
Okay,
захожу,
yeah, it's worse. I might be
отворачиваюсь.
remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Давай. Куда идем-то? Обратно, что ли?
Aha! I knew we'd missed something. The story. Here it comes.
История сейчас будет.
No, wait. Never mind.
Что?
Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Да как? Что мне стрёмно идти
Now
дальше?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I
Тут
don't
вообще
think
все
so.
заделано.
I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all.
Как-то это все
We
неправильно.
both
Ну,
know you didn't
знаем,
put in
что
any actual
ничего для
work for
этого
that win. Some
победы
people
не
win fair
делают.
and square, and this was
Некоторые
not
люди
one of those
побеждают
situations.
честно. И у
Okay?
нас с тобой.
I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Понятно. Что ничего не понятно. Это кто-то там.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line.
Сделан
How
линию, чтобы
simple
не
is that?
заблудиться. Стоп. Тут была закрыта дверь. Я вот точно помню. Точно.
You see, the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction.
Нет,
Onward,
обманывает,
Stanley,
обманывает.
to
Не пойду.
destiny. Though, here's a thought.
Точно обманывает.
Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way,
Я туда не
is
пойду,
the
я вот
story of no
сюда вот
destination
пойду тогда.
still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a
А чё, тут
journey
нет? Тут
such
ничего не
that a
будет?
destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation
Как
of
так?
the
Вот
nature
как это
of
и
life
сделали?
itself?
Вот,
Okay, Stanley, I need to
Два
follow
окна,
this
да?
train of thought for a minute. Just stick
вот
with me.
одна дверь.
Now we can both
тут
agree
понятно.
that the nature
А
of
тут?
existence is in fact a byproduct
Как?
of one's
Как?
subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay, Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Чё такая музыка началась? Да ну. Да ну в пень. Да ладно, да что это? И под столом. Тут обходит, тут как-то жу. Ну, не знаю, я ему не доверяю. Да уж. В этой игре практически
Wait,
не знаю.
cut the music. Go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important
Нет.
later in the story. Make sure you
Что
study
это?
it
Вот
closely
видите,
and
да?
remember
Вот
it
этот
carefully. You won't want to miss
дальше
anything.
по линии, видите? Это кнопка какая-то. Он мне говорит вернуться. И там тоже. Либо я иду вперед, либо назад. Нет уж. Он мне сказал идти вперед.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Нет.
No, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Да уж. Ну, в следующей части тогда увидимся. Вот. А на этом все. Спасибо за внимание. С вами был Пикачу. Подписывайтесь на мой канал. Ставьте пальцы вверх. Комментируйте. Я не знаю, что еще добавить. Всем пока.